Good morning, YouTube viewers and subscribers. Here's a fun fact. On average, my videos only get about 3 minutes and 39 seconds of view time, which is kind of strange in a way, I guess, when I think about it. That's why, one of the reasons why I try to keep my videos as short as possible, because I realize that most people aren't going to watch them all. And to be quite honest with you, when I go back and watch them on my TV or computer or wherever I watch them, I don't necessarily watch the whole thing either. I mean, who wants to see my ugly mug misspeaking words and saying stupid crap? I'd rather see engines purring. Unfortunately, this video is not one of those ones where you're going to see an engine purr, but you are going to see something pretty damn cool. So a good friend of mine, Brandon, as always, he had bought out a group of engines from a person. I believe it was on RC Groups this time. And he sends me pictures of these things, asks me about interest in having some of these engines. And he so graciously sent me one of these engines for me to do a quick look at. And it is a very rare specimen, and I'm super excited to have it. So he sent it to me so I could do a quick look at it, and I also got to get to think about whether I want to buy it or not. So this engine that Brandon sent is the OPS 20-4 overhead cam. Now, the first time I saw this, I thought, well, that was a misprint, but apparently OPS just uses 20-4 instead of 120-4. This is an engine made in Italy. I know nothing about OPS engines other than I've heard of them and the few things I've read about them. But this one dates back pretty far. This engine dates back to at least 1986. I'm going to show you why here soon. It's got a label here, Shamrock Imports, the parts people, out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Never heard of that either. So this is really super interesting. In my opinion, in my estimation, it's a super rare engine. And I judge that basically only by the fact that I've never really seen too many of these on YouTube, because I research all my engines on YouTube first. And the only other two places I kind of judge the rarity of an engine is whether I see them listed in RC Groups or on eBay. And I know that's pretty lame, but those are about the only places I look. So let's open this up. So this is a new in-box engine, never seen fuel. So the first thing we have here is the paperwork, and I'm going to go through all of this stuff in this video. So those of you that only watch 3 minutes and 39 seconds of my videos, turn it off now, I guess. But if you're a real real die-hard glow engine fan, you might want to hang around, because this thing is freaking cool. So here's the paperwork, and I'll put that off to the side for now. Here's the engine. Now, here's the exhaust. Now, the thing that was funny about the exhaust is when I first pulled this out, it's kind of rattly. And it wasn't this that was rattling, the locking or the adjuster attaching nut. It's the end piece here. Now, it's held in place with just 2 screws, which obviously can be tightened up. But you take these 2 screws off and you can just pull the exhaust apart. It's just a really thin little canister thing. And that, to me, that didn't seem all that high quality. So I was kind of like, the first thing out of my mind was like, holy shit, what is this? This thing looks kind of crappy. But anyway, so that's the exhaust. And this nipple was also loose. Here is a tool pack that I'll go through here pretty extensively, because it's all important. This is not your ordinary 4-stroke engine by any means. And here's another little pack of open-end wrench and a screwdriver. Really nothing too awesome there. Now, the one thing that I will mention to Brandon, because he's watching this probably, is that any of you that have ever had or bought a new in-box, new old stock, or a box OS FS90 engine that still had the box, will realize that the foam that OS used back for those engines long ago, after about 30 years, turns to freaking dust. I mean, and it's disgusting. It just disintegrates, and you almost have to tear your engine down completely just to make sure there's none of that crap anywhere in the openings. This engine was much the same way. It had some yellow foam in there. As soon as I pulled it out, I could just feel yellow foamy powder crap. So Brandon, I quickly dispensed with that, cut a new piece of foam to put in here, and then I've looked at this engine briefly, and I brushed it all down and made sure none of this crap, and luckily it was in a bag. But so that's why that's got gray foam in there. So here's the engine, the moment everybody's been waiting for. And like I said, thankfully it was safely in a bag here. Now I did put a prop stub on it because I wanted to be able to turn this over, because this is incredibly unique. So here's the OPS. It's a 120 4-stroke engine, and it's the strangest looking 4-stroke engine I've ever seen. So I'm just going to, as I kind of talk about it, I'm just kind of rotate it around initially, and then we'll go through it a little bit more detail. But anyway, it's a overhead cam engine, and we'll get into that. But it's got a very beautiful casting and a very deeply recessed glow plug. So let's look at this thing. So it comes like this. It doesn't have beam mounts at all. It only has a back plate mount, which essentially that's the only way you can mount this engine. Inside here you can see that this is a belt driven engine. So immediately when I first saw a belt driven engine, I thought, oh well, that's a rotary valve engine, because that's what Enya used to do with the T460s, T440, T480. But that's not the case at all. I was really shocked when I read the review on this thing and found out it's not a rotary valve engine at all. But it's got a belt. The belt looks like it's in really good shape for the age, which is kind of one of the factors I wanted to look at closely to determine if I wanted to purchase this engine. Now let me talk about purchasing this engine real briefly. Brandon probably got a pretty good deal on this. This is not an inexpensive engine. This is a pretty costly engine. In fact, the number Brandon quoted for me, I'm sure, is probably pretty good for this engine. But it's a lot more than I would normally pay for a single cylinder 4-stroke engine. And that's why I'm really kind of thinking about whether I want to do this or not. Because it's a lot of money. It's pretty rare. Spare parts are going to be impossible to find, if at all. So, I don't know. Maybe the viewers and subscribers of this video can help me determine if I should actually outlay the cash for this. But I guess I kind of look at it this way too, in that if I buy it and I run it only 10 times or less, keep it in pristine condition like I always keep all my engines, maybe I could turn around and sell it if I ever so desired and get most of my money back. But as you can see here, side intake manifold, and then of course our exhaust manifold here. Now the thing that's really interesting about this is we've got like this plasticky, rubbery type of connector here for our intake manifold, and this carb is very different than a normal RC carb in that you see how it's got kind of a bell crank on here? Well, it's because it's a slide type carb. If you can look right in here, you see that mechanism? It's a slide carb, which is pretty interesting. Now the one thing that Brandon did authorize me to do, or I basically kind of told him I wanted to do after I read the review, is this portion here is just a cover. It's not a necessarily functional part of the engine. And I do want to take that off because what's underneath this cover is just so freaking cool, it's not even funny. Now, this is not the first time I've had this cover off, because when I got this engine in the mail yesterday from work and I was tired and stuff, I was like, I can't just sit here and look at this box and not at least look at this engine real quick. And of course, that's not when I did the video, because I'm doing it now. But I was surprised to find that these fasteners here are actually SAE. They're not metric. And manufacturers don't go mixing metric and SAE parts, so it's odd to me that an Italian-made engine would have SAE fasteners on it, but this one does. So I don't know. I don't really know that much about the fasteners that countries use. I just know that I thought everything from Europe and Asia was metric, and I thought everything in the United States was SAE. Apparently I'm wrong. So look at this thing. Let me make sure I get this zoomed in here. So here is our belt and our pulley, and here are our overhead valves, or the valves and the overhead camshaft. You can see that camshaft. See this really strange arrangement? This is one of the reasons why I was like, man, this engine is just too damn cool to pass up, and I'm glad I'm at least getting the opportunity to hold it and make this quick look video. It's yet to be determined, obviously, if I'm going to actually own this engine and run it, because obviously I can't run this engine unless I own it. That's just a stipulation from Brandon. It's just not, I wouldn't even think about doing this. Say, hey, let me have this really expensive engine. Let me do a couple videos of it. It's new in box. Let me run and they'll give it back to you and you can try and sell it. I can't do that to him. So this is one of those things where I have to decide whether the value and ownership of this engine is worth the cost. Now I've got the money in my PayPal account to pay for this because I've sold some engines. It's just a matter of, do I really want to do it or not? It's so rare. I don't know. But anyway, that's that. Now I'm going to put this back on because here's another really interesting feature. You see how deeply recessed that glow plug is? Well, guess what? It gets even more deeply recessed when you put this on here. And that's where we're going to get into some of these accessories that come with this engine. Snug that up real quick. So this accessory bag, I'm going to have to zoom out just a hair here so you can see. This accessory bag has some items in it. First, it has a feeler gauge. And it has this device, which I'm not sure what that portion is for, but this end is so that you can actually get in here and reach your glow plug. So you pretty much have to have this special tool just to access your glow plug, or you could take the cover off all the time and do that. Of course, it's got some probably SAE Allen keys, and then it's got this strange little device. And this strange little device is a thing that allows you to clip onto your glow plug. So what you do here with this is you clip it onto your glow plug lead to ignite it, and then you rotate this off to the side. Now it's got a rubber insulator here so it's not shorting out, but then you clamp your glow plug, positive or negative, it's a DC circuit, to this and the other end to another part of the engine to ignite the plug. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So anyway, obviously without this device, it's going to be pretty challenging to actually ignite your glow plug. So that's all for that. I want to go through this paperwork package here and show you all the other stuff that comes in the paperwork. Now the first thing that I've got here, let me move this out of the way just a little bit, is there was a letter here. And I want to read this because I thought it was kind of interesting. And it also validates the date that I think this engine dates back to. It's a letter from Shamrock Competition Imports, and like I said, bear with me, I'm going to read it here real quick. Dear customer, the OPS 124 cycle engine is presently available. It has been a long time in coming. Shamrock would personally like to apologize for the long delay in providing you with this fine engine. Its delayed production was beyond our control. Planning and producing a quality automotive type RC Aero 4-cycle engine is quite a feat. It requires lots of design time as well as much testing plus precision manufacturing and control. There are many parts on this engine that require outside suppliers such as Rockwell in Europe and such as OPS is totally dependent upon them, and such OPS is totally dependent upon their demanding production schedules, which is misspelled. As you're aware, there are many 4-cycle engines presently on the market that leave much to be desired in quality and longevity. As you inspect and use the OPS 124 cycle engine, you will marvel over its quality and performance. It is truly an engine that you will be proud to own. Again, Shamrock would like to express our appreciation and for your patience in waiting for this engine. Bob Murphy, Shamrock Competition Imports. And if you look at the top of this, the date on this letter is 12/13/86. Pretty darn old. So that's a cool piece of memorabilia that goes along with this engine. This is an exploded parts breakdown, and a very strange one because it's got a Shamrock Imports stamp on it here, and it's just on a big, piece of paper with a grid. So that's kind of weird, but it's there and it's hard to read and it has no part numbers. What's this? These are just your standard, looks like standard safety instructions, and then there's a section here that talks about plugs. Here's a little OPS leaflet here. Useful hints, tuned exhaust pipes, warranty, running in and use. So it looks like this is kind of like a quick start guide. But here is the actual operating instructions for this engine. So this is pretty cool. It shows some stuff here about the engine, so that's really neat. And then also in this bag were some OPS decals. So that is the complete package that came with this engine. And like I said, thank you very much, Brandon, for giving me this opportunity to evaluate this and assess whether or not I actually want to own this engine. I mean, it's very hard for me not to want to at this point because this thing is just so darn cool. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. So anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and let me know your thoughts on whether or not I should actually take the dive and purchase this engine so that we can do some run videos of it. It's a nice piece, very collectible in my opinion, so those are things I have to think about. But anyway, thank you all for watching.